where he just like talks about how awful they are and just like just like and just kind of goes over them and like we go back and watch it now and it's like not nearly as funny as we ow not nearly as funny as we remember but hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Nights at D-Pad. As you can see, everybody here has meticulously set up and cleaned their their recording space. I decided that for the sake of authenticity, I would leave my recording space to represent all of you, the true gamers of the world, and what your real life gaming setup looks like. So for that reason, it looks like a bomb went off in here. The other reason
decided to make his living space dirtier.
I actively made it messier. No,
those blue cables on the bottom right, those aren't connected to anything. They're just thrown there.
Just thrown there.
No, it's actually a freakishly long Ethernet cord that we don't need it to be even a little bit that long. But like I said, gamer authenticity. No, the real reason that it's so messy is because I have my brother living with me in this very small room for the moment, and we're in the middle of packing. All of our suitcases are over there because we're going to go live in the Dominican Republic for 4 months and teach English to small children there. And we leave on like Wednesday. So the next time for the next episode, when I come back and we're recording, when we all come back, when we're recording, I will be recording from the Dominican Republic, and hopefully I won't be dead, and hopefully the Wi-Fi won't short out in the middle of recording.
That is the concern that we're having, is that when Cort goes to the Dominican Republic, the latency round trip is gonna be crazy.
I'm just there like a slideshow of reactions.
I'm less worried about a slideshow of reactions, and we're like talking about a topic and we move on, and you're still talking about it because you're 10 seconds in the past.
Yeah, we'll have to play it by ear and kind of see, but I'll have Wi-Fi, so that'll be good. I don't know how reliable it'll be.
I mean, I've been to the Dominican Republic on a cruise. It was a pretty cool place, but I do not know how the Wi-Fi is.
Yeah.
So the Wi-Fi is decent in other places.
I thought you were about to say in the Dominican Republic, and I was gonna be like, "How did you know, Ben?"
Ben studies Dominican Republic Wi-Fi.
Oh, Ben set up the entire internet infrastructure.
It was me,
of
Barry.
the Dominican Republic.
Ben built the infrastructure of the Dominican Republic.
Yeah, Dominican Republic Ben single-handedly set it up. They can thank him for their infrastructure of the internet. Anyways, welcome to the second episode of the 4th season, as we continuously float through the void that is the stars behind us on a colorful stream overlay, which saves me so much. I didn't realize how much time doing it this way how much time it would save me in the post-production process, but let me tell you, this episode I finished editing, rendering, and uploading it to YouTube before my laundry was finished last week. So I finally have Saturdays that I can use, so I much appreciate that. So I was able to spend more time, like, play other games. I started playing new games after I realized I realized that I played nothing new over the entire calendar year of 2023. I immediately went, I'm changing that. So I
played Hello Kitty. What was that?
Island Adventure.
Island Adventure. No, that's what he started playing.
I'm currently in a playthrough of Nier Automata.
Of course.
Funny robot game.
I remember that Kyle had spoken about it, and I knew that it was a good game. And yeah, he was right to praise it. It's a very, very good game. Quality gameplay. 9 out of 10 would recommend. But enough about that. We've got news to talk about. Does anyone have a preference on where we start, or should we just go in order? Or that's on the sheet. Should we go in order?
I think order sounds fine.
All right.
Order's good.
So I guess we gotta first talk about one of the rare instances where we get an actual Chinese W. China
Live China reaction
Live
to this
China
information.
to this massive dub. So this happened over break, and I don't know how I missed it or how anybody missed it. So there's the Chinese government has proposed new laws to help like curb predatory gaming practices, specifically aimed at like gacha games and like pay to win, kind of not necessarily pay to win, but like the pay to have a chance to win.
Mm-hmm.
The gacha games. So like these aren't actual laws that have come out yet, but they've been proposed, and I think through the day this episode comes out is the last day I think that the public and stuff can give feedback before the laws are like adjusted and then actually put into play or something to that effect. But essentially they announced laws that are intended to limit things such as like daily login rewards, requiring game companies to allow players to just buy certain items, to buy any items rather than having to get a chance, but then also like I think make the chances higher, and basically not remove gacha mechanics, but make it so that that's not the only way.
Make it so you can at least play the entirety of the game without having to pay money, even if it takes a lot more.
Not that.
Without having to.
They're making it so that you don't have to rely on chance to get things.
Okay.
So like gacha, it seems like gacha mechanics they're not trying to remove gacha mechanics, but they're trying to make it so that if you wanted a certain character from a new banner, you could just buy the character rather than buying the premium currency to then buy the
have a chance
to win the character. And
so it kind of reminds. Oh, sorry, I interrupted you. Keep going.
Well, no. So essentially, they're just trying to remove the necessity of the gacha system, and I think they're also looking at removing things such as like, oh, the more times you pull, the higher the chances, or like stacking chances. Like the more times you pull, it's like, oh, if you pull 11 times, on the 11th time, you're guaranteed to get an S rank, unit.
Yeah.
I think they're looking at removing that stuff as well, because essentially they're just trying to remove the need for people to spend a lot of money, because I think they're even trying to look at adding a cap on how much money a player can spend on a game, and then like rewards for consecutive microtransactions, daily login rewards, basically just everything that makes a gacha game predatory is what they're looking at.
I'm interested about the whole daily login thing, because personally for me that seems like one of the least predatory.
For me daily login things are like,
I think the reason that they're looking at removing that is because maybe in their mind it operates in that same space as the consecutive microtransaction rewards, where it's like the more times that you log into the game in a row, the higher your reward. Like, there's no money involved, but maybe they're just trying to curb people like playing.
I know that China also has some concerns about like people being on video games too much, so it could be that it's more of a social curbing, like trying to prevent people from being on their mobile games all the time.
I think it's something around that. What's really fun, I don't know if it's funny or as soon as these laws like were unveiled and like announced, like Tencent's market value like tanked. Like Tencent had like, it was like a 16 to 20% like market share drop as soon as China announced these laws.
I'm not surprised. I mean, that is like the vast majority of Tencent's business like strategy is just predatory gaming practices.
Look up, babe, new CCP lore just dropped.
Well, and I think Hoyoverse, their parent company, their market share dropped as well, because it's like Genshin and Star Rail also rely on gacha mechanics. As much as Kyle doesn't want to say that people are badly addicted to the gacha mechanics of Genshin, I hate to bring it to you, buddy. The data says otherwise. And that's where they get all of their money. Like Genshin's made so much money off of the gacha mechanics. So I mean, it helps the consumer, because now you just buy the thing that you want rather than having to get a chance to buy it.
Now, if there's a particular anime waifu you want to get from Genshin, you can just buy her.
So Tencent shares fell 16% at one point. NetEase fell as much as 25%. 25%.
Crazy.
That is a rough market.
Yeah, NetEase dropped almost as much as 25, and like over the last 20, and it says that these drops make up a bulk of $80 billion of total sell-off in the Chinese gaming market.
Oh my
god. It's crazy.
That is a massive oof.
And what's funny, what's interesting is that because if these laws in China go into play, like it won't just affect the Chinese gaming companies, it'll affect any company whose games are available in China.
Yeah.
So
they'll either have to make China specific adjustments or
things
make
like
adjustments to the whole game
and their EA and their terrible like systems in like Madden and NBA 2K and stuff will also have to be adjusted, at least for China, or just in general across the board, because it wouldn't comply with their laws.
That's what I was gonna say. It kind of reminded me of it reminded me back in 2017 when Star Wars Battlefront 2 came out, the new the 2017 one, and like its whole like progression system was like so predatory. It was like oh, like buy these little loot crates and then you may get these upgrades, and you might get a better gun, or you might get a star card that'll help you, and it was so awful that before the game even came out, players caused like such a huge uproar that it got like government people like looking into like making laws that to deal with this kind of stuff. Like Disney got involved because they were being contacted by like government stuff, and they like went in and told EA like, hey, cut this out. And so then before the game even launched, before the game even launched, they completely took out all.
I think EA's response to all the backlash is still the most downvoted comment in Reddit history.
Yeah,
I think it does still hold the record as the most downvoted post.
Yeah, on the Battlefront subreddit.
I think Ben's looking it up right now. Because
the intent was to provide players with a sense of pride and accomplishment. It is the most downvoted comment in Reddit history.
The gamers won that day.
To their credit, Battlefront 2 then had they took away all of that stuff before the launch because of all the backlash.
Yeah.
And then it had a redemption arc over the course of the next 4 years where they completely rebuilt the progression system and added some cool stuff, and it's a really great game now. But yeah, it just kind of reminded me of that when there was all this talk of legal action
what's
being
interesting
taken.
Though, what have you seen, Ben?
Negative 67,000 coins.
Yeah, EA got hit with a big one on that one, on that comment. What's interesting though is that these China laws aren't in response to a big community backlash. It is generally the gacha game system is generally regarded as one of the most predatory things, but you aren't seeing people rise up in droves, because the thing is, it's not just one game, whereas Battlefront, it was a single game that just was terrible. But gacha games, you don't have, because everyone hates gacha, but most people who play Genshin don't mind or don't participate. It's it's a slightly different. This is the government being this is a problem. We see it as a problem. We're gonna step in. It's not everyone going to the government and being do something about this.
Yeah.
So it is slightly different, but I mean, China would, no other country other than China would do something like this. I feel like this is a very China thing to do, because the US would never dare, because if the US tried to, that Microsoft would be on their butt. And you're no, you can't do that. Whereas in China, as big as Tencent and NetEase are, they realistically have no power over the Chinese government at all.
Yeah.
It's funny. We got a nice little flip-flop here. In the U.S., we have a government controlled by corporations, and China has corporations controlled by the government.
So we'll see. I would imagine the next month or so we'll get official announcements when that if the law ever comes out, and if it does, in what form it takes. But for right now, that is what's happening in China, and we'll see if it kind of affects a more broader audience outside of China, and if we see any impacts. I would imagine that at least for Chinese publishers like Genshin and
which are often the biggest
perpetrators.
Yeah.
for not the lack of a better term. I think that's the best term to use.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on in China. So moving on. This was Lillian, give us an update on something that we brought up. What was this, back in November, I think it was?
Yeah, something like that. So it was announced back in like November that during Awesome Games Done Quick, which is like a charity speedrunning event, there would be a speedrun, but this speedrun would be done instead of by a person, by a dog.
Oh, I saw something about this.
And so that speedrun was completed. For most of the run, actually, this dog, whose name is Peanut Butter.
This one.
Peanut Butter was actually on world record pace for most of the run. Ended up not quite getting the world record at the end, but pretty crazy to think that a dog almost got the world record for a speedrun.
It's crazy.
Wait, but what was the game that he played?
It was...
I think it was Gyromite, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Gyromite.
That's crazy.
Yep.
How did they have him playing it?
Well, so the way that he did it is his owner, he had I don't know if it was custom built or whatever, but it was like a specific kind of controller that had, the buttons that needed. I think there was like only like 3 or 4 buttons that were like paddles.
Yeah, there was only 3 buttons that they needed, I think.
Yeah, and they were paddles, and he would either put food on the paddle, or he would just kind of give a command for the dog to put his paw on the paddle necessary to make the action.
Yep.
So it was the actual guy telling the dog where, like, it wasn't the dog.
Yeah.
Yes, the dog didn't know I gotta press the red one next. No, the owner was telling you, okay, put your paw on this one, but it was still
it's still adorable.
It's still pretty crazy.
I was gonna say, I was like, there's like that seems, because dogs have absolutely horrendous eyesight and rely primarily on smell. And so I was like, there's no way that even if they trained a dog and the dog was aware of what was going on the screen and stuff, like, there's just no way he'd even be able to see it.
Yes.
Dogs in shamble.
No, it's true. They have
they do not have great eyesight. No,
they rely primarily on scent.
That's Cort. You didn't have to do him like that, Cort.
It's just.
I mean, to some extent, humans have pretty.
Yeah, Cort, how's your eyesight, huh?
I mean, not great. I'm wearing contacts.
Exactly, that's what I thought.
Yeah, but you think about it like us, our sense of smell in comparison to dogs is awful.
You're right. You're right. But that's still crazy that a dog
Not me.
Starts smelling like a dog.
That was me smelling.
Bloodhounds ain't got nothing on me.
Got nothing on Ben. Ben's got them bloodhounds on lock. When police need help, they don't call the dogs. They call Ben.
Call Ben in, and he just.
The thing is, though, I'm still running around on all 4s.
I'm still running around on all 4s. That's a. Tally,
Ben is a furry. Ben is a furry. Confirmed.
Tally, come get your mans. I think you need help.
Clipping this and sending it to Tally. Your husband is a furry. Please be careful.
Please be careful. But yeah, that was something we had brought up before AGDQ happened. And the fact he didn't get a world record, which is unfortunate, but the fact that he was even on world record pace is pretty incredible. So
yep.
We love Peanut Butter.
It was a fun.
Yep. Tons of other fun speedruns done, but that definitely was the highlight of.
That was the highlight before
AGDQ.
The other big things that happened.
I pet that dog.
The Xbox developers, they had their direct. That was pretty cool stuff. Some cool stuff came out of the Xbox developer direct.
Interesting
pretty
stuff.
Direct about it.
They were pretty Xbox direct about it. Yeah, so I didn't watch the full event, but I watched a breakdown, mostly because I've been crazy busy packing and stuff, and also I didn't realize that it was the other day. I thought it was until later this month. But I watched a breakdown of it. There was a lot of things announced, a lot of different games and stuff, but the 2 big ones that were shown off that were of interest to me, at least personally, were about a billion years ago, we got announcement that some folks at Bethesda, the people who made some of the games,
Some of the games.
Wow,
machine
okay.
games. I can't remember what games they made, but they're like under Bethesda. We're
Bro
working
has
on an
never
Indiana
heard of
Jones.
Skyrim.
No, it wasn't because that's id. That's
Indiana
it's a different. I think it's a different one under Bethesda. But anyway, but yeah, they were making an Indiana Jones game, and all we got was like a little like teaser, like like with a little hat, his hat, and like the theme song.
No,
and everything.
we got freaking gameplay footage.
No. This was years ago. This was years ago.
I was like, wait a minute.
And so we knew it was in works for a while, but then at this Xbox developer thing, they finally showed off, like they gave us a title reveal. It's Indiana Jones and the Great Circle.
Which is such a
Great
funny
Circle.
title.
I'm pretty
Such
sure,
a
yeah,
funny
it's the
title.
great. This circle is great.
Is great.
But
This was certainly one of the greatest circles
one
of
of
all
the greatest
time.
circles of all time.
One of the circles
This
of all
truly
time.
has
I
been
mean, honestly,
a great circle.
though, it can't be much worse than Dial of Destiny.
Dial of Destiny, 100%.
And this is Todd.
And-
No, Todd Howard's all on this one.
Yeah, Todd Howard's like big into the making of it. Like it's anyway, and like they showed off gameplay and like a full everything. It looks really cool. The guy that they got to voice Indiana Jones does a great job mimicking Harrison Ford's like intonation and swagger. And like it like I don't know, like they've got a lot of really cool stuff going on with it, but it's like sorry, I can hear music coming from Rocket League in the background, and it's just throwing me off while I'm trying to think.
Oh, Cort.
I'm sorry. And anyway, it looks interesting though, because it's people were kind of thinking, oh, is this just going to be like an Uncharted,
Yeah.
Tomb Raider
Rip-off.
kind of ripoff? Because obviously those two games are heavily inspired by the Indiana Jones movies.
Mhm.
But so kind of the thought was like, is this Indiana Jones game just going to be kind of bringing that full circle and having it be like an Uncharted, Tomb Raider kind of ripoff? And it does look like it could run that risk a little bit, but the biggest
Mhm.
thing is that both of those games are third person.
Yeah,
And
this
this
is first
game
person.
is first
Mhm.
person. Like you are first person playing as Indiana Jones. Like the combat is all first person, the traversal and like the everything. It does seem like there are some third person sequences, like obviously cutscenes and stuff are going to be in third person, but for the most part, it's all first person, which there's been a lot of like debate over that online of like, is that the right move? Like, will a game like this that's very
Yep.
focused on like platforming and puzzle solving and
Yeah.
stuff like that, will that work in first
Honestly,
person?
I'm thinking about it. Like, it sounds interesting to be playing such a
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like adventure focused game.
in
first
completely in first
person.
person. Yeah, and it's like I think there's a precedent for it to work. I mean, we know that like parkour sequences can work fine in first person thanks to the Dying Light games, which are
Well,
heavily
we know
parkour
puzzles will
focused.
work in first person. Thanks, Portal. Like,
Yeah, puzzles work fine in first person. And we know combat obviously works fine in first person because of every
what?
first
There's
person
no
shooter
way.
that
I've
has
never
ever
seen
been
a
made.
first
I've
person
never
combat
seen
game.
first person combat.
doesn't work. But yeah, no, I mean it looks really intriguing, and it looks like they're, I mean, I always think that if a game or anything is being adapted from like a source material, it's got to treat that source material with respect. That's why a lot of more modern additions to franchises that I won't name, cough Star Wars, cough Dial of Destiny, cough, have just not been good because they don't respect the source material itself. But
Mhm.
this seems very like respectful to the Indiana Jones IP and like to the franchise itself. Like it
Yeah.
feels like Indiana Jones from just the brief gameplay that we've seen. But I don't know, I wasn't too interested in it when I first heard it. I've never been like a huge Indiana Jones fan, but after watching the gameplay and after seeing the whole thing, I'm like, this is something that I would probably genuinely play. Like, I don't know, it seems like from what we've seen of it, they're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Then the other thing that they showed off some gameplay for finally was Obsidian's new game, Avowed. So Obsidian is kind of the how would you describe Obsidian? Like,
The only thing I know Obsidian for is for the second Knights of the Old Republic game.
yeah, I think what I know them for and what they're kind of known for in the case of Avowed is Obsidian kind of is known for doing things like the Bethesda game formula, you know, like Fallout and Skyrim and stuff, but just doing them
better.
Yeah, exactly. No, like yeah, like so Obsidian, for instance, Obsidian's first big break into that scene was they brought Obsidian in to do Fallout New Vegas.
And
Fallout
what is
3.
the best new Fallout game I've heard everybody say every time?
It's Fallout New Vegas, 100%. And then they took on so that was kind of Obsidian's Fallout, you know, and then Obsidian did Obsidian Starfield before Starfield even came out because
Outer Worlds.
With Outer Worlds and
Well,
Outer
then
Worlds
wouldn't
was
Bethesda have done a Bethesda Outer Worlds?
that's kind of what Starfield is.
Yeah.
But Outer Worlds is just, I mean, having played both, and I like Starfield just fine, but Outer Worlds is inherently a better game, I feel like it is more fun, it's more streamlined, it's just a blast to play, you know? And so Avowed was kind of not, I mean, it obviously wasn't pitched this way because they can't, but but is kind of seen as, oh, this is Obsidian's Skyrim, this is Obsidian's Elder Scrolls. It's very much like it's a fantasy, you know, first person fantasy like role playing game like that, and I don't know. I mean, we still haven't seen a whole ton of it. I think there's been an interesting kind of reaction to it online because the gameplay that they chose to show for this was like they talk about how there's all these different unique areas in the game, and they show like a whole bunch of these different unique areas in like montages and stuff.
Yeah.
But then they even show like one area and talk about how it's bland and boring, and it's designed that way on purpose to like contrast with the other like more intriguing areas. But then the whole gameplay section that they show, like where they're showing off the gameplay, is all set in that bland and boring area. And it's like there's just a bunch of choices like that just seem really weird. Like the core gameplay looks cool, but they don't show like anything about the story. They don't show like anything. It looks. They don't show anything that makes you immediately say this is going to be an amazing game. But but we can hope from Obsidian's track record that it'll be really cool. I will say some of the stuff like you can. Like, you know, you can have like a shield in one hand, sword in one hand, or then you could have like a wand in one hand and a sword in the other hand, and kind of like, or like they show at one point, they show gameplay of a guy who just has two wands and he's just like he's like gunslinging wands and then like, you know, gunslinging spells, or then like there's like one where you can have like a gun, like a you know, like a little like fantasy pistol, and like you know, dual wield those. And anyway, and the combat looks really cool, like the just like the back and forth of it. But anyway, it was interesting to see a real good look at it, because we've known that Avowed was in the works since like, you know, the dawn of time, and so it's kind of one of those games that was announced, you know, a billion years ago, and then was just kind of in the back burner of the gaming world's mind, you know, just kind of like, oh, it's there, it's coming out eventually. But this was the first time we really got a real solid look at it. And I don't know, it looks like it could be good. I mean, Obsidian's got a lot on their plate right now. They're still working on Grounded updates. I think they made that Grounded game where it's like a survival game and you're very small. It's like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the game. And you know, they're actively working on Outer Worlds 2, a sequel to Outer Worlds right now, which I'm really excited about. And then Avowed, and you know, so they've got a lot on their plate right now. But
yeah, I mean, Avowed looks very interesting. It looks very magic heavy. Yeah. Like it's seems to be a lot less focused on swords and swinging and stuff, and all about using your magic utility to accomplish certain tasks and get things, you know, sticking people into the ground, throwing them up in the air, lighting them on fire, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I don't know. It remains to be seen, like how the world building and stuff is, but Obsidian, like, you know, like we were saying, Obsidian has always done a great job with that in the past. Like 90% of the fun of the Outer Worlds is
is just how goofy the characters are and just interacting with the world in all these different ways. And and I haven't played Fallout New Vegas. I'm actually planning on playing it while I'm in the Dominican Republic, but but I've heard that it is also, I mean, you've got characters like Joshua Graham that are widely considered to be, that's widely considered to be one of the greatest, like most well-written video game characters of all time, who came from New Vegas, and like, so it's, I'm optimistic based on their track record, but we'll see. And it looks cool. I mean, it looks gorgeous, like visuals wise, it looks absolutely stunning. But
well, I guess we'll find out. I know that there was also other games that, like, not Microsoft related, that I just remember that were announced. I think like Smite 2 was announced, wasn't it? At some, like, in the last couple of weeks, which is I don't play MOBAs, but Smite, I know Smite is one of the big names in the MOBA genre because it's a little more unique in the MOBA style, because it's a third person rather than a top down like League and Dota are.
Yeah, it's an interesting. I've looked at it. It doesn't personally look too appealing, but I mean, go off.
But
go
on the topic of MOBAs, the new League of Legends season, Ben, it's coming. Or I guess it's here. Is it here?
It's here. It's here.
It's here.
It's here. There's been a ton of crazy new changes, but what I really wanted to focus on today was the season start cinematic.
The League
I don't know if y'all remember last year.
Their cinematics go crazy.
Yeah, but I don't know. Well, not every time. I don't know if y'all remember last year. We've lost Cort.
I'm still here. I'm just, this music that is playing in the background off of Rocket League is driving me insane.
Why did you turn your camera off?
Because I'm wearing.
Anyways, keep talking. Keep talking, Ben.
Last year, there was this huge gripe that I had because the season start cinematic was just a camera kind of gliding around, RTX scaled version of the League of Legends map.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
Random quotes, and it was just a complete letdown of what everyone expected, because the year before last year you had the Call cinematic, which was amazing with Pantheon and Sejuani and all that kind of stuff, and then you just get gliding around following a butterfly for some reason. Butterflies have never been important in League. And so
important to me.
Okay.
Coming into this one, we had been promised, because like they actually made a video at it, like, we're sorry, we didn't read it right, and so next year there will be an actual cinematic. And so we did get an actual cinematic. I actually showed it to Cort just the other day, because
it was really cool.
I'm showing it to everyone.
It was really cool, and then Ben explained to me like the context and the lore of like what all of these different cool characters, the lore of what all these different characters like mean, and it was even cooler. So
yeah, the League season cinematics are very lore heavy, and it makes it a lot more enjoyable when you know what's going on.
Yeah, because the game is so entrenched in the lore.
Honestly, like, listen. I don't play much League anymore, but I still keep up on the lore because it's such a good, well-developed universe.
Honestly, from hearing Ben talk about it over the last little while since he became my brother-in-law, it's like he's converted Tally to like being a full-blown like League of Legends lore fan, and so then I'll hang out with them.
Does she even play League?
No, she's played League once.
But
she's a lore head, but doesn't play the game.
But like, and like they've like talked to me about it, and I'm like, I have like very little desire to actually play League of Legends, because I'm just not really into that kind of like that, the top down, kind of. I don't remember what the game is called, but like that Dota and
MOBA.
MOBA, yeah. Style. But like the lore, every time Ben and Tally talk to me about it, the more I'm like, I really want to get into this universe because it sounds so cool, and I'm gonna have a lot of time on my hands in the Dominican Republic, so I'm thinking I'm probably gonna really get into like the lore videos and the lore like stuff on their website and stuff, and really like get into the universe because it looks really cool. And also I loved Arcane, and so
the same writers who did Arcane also had a big hand in most of the stuff happening in League lore. So
Cort thinks he's going to have a lot of time on his hand. You're underestimating how annoying of a language English is to teach.
Well, they're only teaching for like 4 hours a day.
Yeah, we
right?
only teach for like 4 hours a day. It's
feel
crazy.
Like the longest 4 hours of your life.
English
for a living.
I tried to teach English in Mexico.
English
It was not fun.
Not it, buddy.
Not it.
It is so overpowered.
I speak this language and think it's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
Because it's a smashing of like all the other languages.
It really is. It is.
It
Yeah, it is
really
just a
is.
hodgepodge of a bunch of other languages.
So depending on what words you're using, you use different grammatical
Cort's gonna start teaching
structures.
English using the League of Legends lore.
So listen, up,
honestly,
guys,
you might have a decent chance. League of Legends is very popular in Latin America.
Well, it is also an interesting thing because the program that we're going with, this is getting off topic a little bit, but the program that we're going with, ILP, like a big part of their teaching strategy is just like, especially with the little kids, like the little like preschool age kids and stuff, like we're not really teaching them like deeper like English language like
grammar and all that.
like grammar.
Well,
and,
you have to
like,
know
different,
that
like,
first to
aspects of
teach it to people.
Yeah. It's like a lot of it is really just like giving them experience, just being around someone who's speaking English to them all the time. And so like a lot of in the training that we've been doing for this like teaching is just like talk at them, like talk English at them, like, but like make sure it's things that like you can like demonstrate. So like,
just
like
play Minecraft.
you've
with
got like, yeah, but like, so it's like literally like, as long as we have something that we could like physically show them and like to talk at them about, we could probably get away with talking at them about
you
it.
just play Minecraft. Just basically do live Let's Play videos with them.
Live Let's Play videos of Minecraft. Yeah, I don't know if I could get away with that, but
teach them all the animals.
Animals? Boot up Animal Crossing.
This one here is an Enderman. Can you say Enderman?
Can you say Enderman? Cort becomes Dora, but for Minecraft.
Back to League of Legends. This cinematic was made, like the actual visual part of it was made in collaboration with Unit Image, which basically Unit Image, it's kind of like anytime you have a video game trailer made with like surprisingly really good quality, that's got to be Unit Image, because they've made stuff like the Beyond Good and Evil cinematics, the For Honor cinematics, Far Cry 6, like any stuff that like came out a while ago, you're like, wow, actually that's surprisingly in depth. It's Unit Image does a really good job at having very.
I agree with all of those except for Far Cry 6, but Far Cry 6 was just bad, guys. I'm gonna keep it a buck.
No. The Far Cry 6 trailers though.
Oh, like with Giancarlo Esposito and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fair.
The only thing I know of Far Cry 6 are all the memes of the cover, where people put like, they just, because of how generic it was, they just put like Obama on the Far Cry 6 cover, and they're like, man, the next Far Cry game looks crazy.
Yeah,
I just like I was acting.
Mm-hmm. I was acting. What was
I? So this cinematic focuses on kind of 3 separate stories that happen in 3 separate time periods that all generally focus around one like topic, which is death. So in League universe, you have a character called, or I guess a champion called Kindred, which is 2 separate beings, Lamb and Wolf. They are basically the Grim Reaper of League of Legends. They are the embodiment of death. You have the Lamb, who, when people accept death, they're taken by Lamb's swift arrow. When people run from death and fight against it, they're taken by Wolf, who hunts them down. And so, you have a part that happened 1,000 years ago with Kale and Morgana fighting against Aatrox, who is trying to conquer young Demacia. Then you also have a future one, which you have old Yasuo defending some village from these raiders, and he ends up like kind of quote unquote dying in the end. Like, this isn't really canon. There's people been saying like, oh, this is a possible future shown to him if he continues on this path or whatever. But I think that's just people not wanting to admit any character could die.
But to be fair, like from what I understand, the character in the current timeline of the lore is like in his like late 20s, and this shows him as like a
60, 50.
Yeah, like an old dude. And so it's like they're not saying, oh, he's gonna die imminently. It's like
I mean, yeah, like it's a future.
One of the futures.
And then the very last kind of section of it is kind of quote unquote modern, like basically the same time frame that is happening currently in the League lore. You have a character, Trendemir, who his ultimate ability is for a few seconds he cannot die. Like he'll go down to 1 HP, and then but no matter what damage you do to him, he just will not die for those few seconds. And so it's Trendemir surrounded by a bunch of enemy Vikings, and then everything stops, and he fights Kindred, the Lamb and the Wolf. And then, so it's like, oh, people are like, oh, that's kind of like how it is. Like when he's in his ultimate, he is just fighting off death until.
Which, I mean, like, you hear it explained, and you're like, oh, that's cool. But then you see it, and you're like, this goes so hard. Like this is so cool. Like just the concept of like every time when you see it in game, like he gets like these red eyes, and you can't kill him for a little bit. But then it's like the implication of this video is like every time he has these red eyes, he's like literally momentarily fighting the Grim Reaper, like the embodiment of death, and just basically just saying nuh-uh out of like sheer
will,
like sheer will of just like nuh-uh, and just fighting them off.
It is almost literally too angry to die because the ability is called Undying Rage.
He's telling
Have any of you seen the Puss in Boots movie?
Yeah, isn't this
that's what it reminds me of.
It's just Puss in Boots, that one final fight where they're surrounded by fire. Except in this one, it's snow.
Yeah, that's fine. Nuh-uh.
It is a very cool
cinematic, and y'all should definitely check it out. But no, the reception has been very good. It's been out for 10 days. It's at 100 million views. 1.7 million likes.
Paltry view count in comparison to ours. The Knights of the D-pad view count on all our videos. It's nothing comparatively, but League of Legends
ones of tens of viewers, ones of tens.
Yeah, our billions and billions of viewers.
Minus
a few billions.
No, it was funny to be seeing Still Here and Matt Pat's goodbye video. They were fighting for #1 on trending for 2 days.
Which makes it even more ironic that it's titled Still Here.
That is very ironic.
Goodbye video.
Oh man. Yeah, League cinematics, when they hit, they do hit.
They do hit. When they actually try, they do hit.
When they actually try, they do hit.
I feel like League kind of reminds me of Overwatch in that way, where I like Overwatch. Like I played a little bit of Overwatch, but I am infinity more intrigued with the Overwatch lore.
Infinity intrigued.
Infinity fast.
Infinity fast. More intrigued with Overwatch's lore than I am with like the actual like game of Overwatch. Like sometimes I'll just go back and watch the Overwatch like character cinematics because they're just so ridiculously good. Like go back and like watch the Hanzo versus Genji one. Like the two dragons cinematic for Overwatch. Like you don't even need to know anything about the lore. It is just like an excellent piece of like 6 to 10 minute animated cinema. Like it is like they're just so good. And it kind of reminds me of that with the League. League stuff. Yeah.
When Blizzard does actually make cinematics, they genuinely do not miss.
If only they were as good at esports as their cinematics.
Yeah, it's when they decide to make actual cinematics, like I don't think any of their cinematics are like terrible. Like they're all their worst one is still like really good.
What would you consider their worst one?
There's so many now.
Overwatch 2 intro cinematic thing.
Well,
the one
no,
where they're
that's
fighting in Canada.
no,
France.
because that
was
Paris
pretty cool.
the Paris cinematic is pretty good.
Yeah, I liked that one a
The
lot.
thing as a whole, especially the music that takes place in there, like all of the, I'm like trying to think of the cinematics. I think one of the first Winston ones where he's like jumped by Reaper in the lab.
in his
Yeah.
base. I
think-
liked
yeah.
that one.
That was
Yeah,
alright.
but I think when you
Linked
compare
on-
it to some of the all of the newer ones, there's like there's less there.
Maybe the
It's-
Junker Queen one. I don't know. I haven't
No,
seen.
I
it.
But that
like the
one's not
Junker
like a
Queen
full
ones. No, the
cinematic, is
Junker
it?
Queen has a full cinematic when she's
Oh, did she
fighting
get a
in the Junkertown arena.
Oh, that's
Mhm.
true. Yeah.
Because even the new Mauga one, where it was like an anime style, like they went to a different kind of animation style for it, and it was still pretty good.
Huh.
So I don't think that Blizzard they don't miss, and I mean hopefully we get a new cinematic in a couple months when the Space Ranger hero comes out. But
Hit or miss. I guess they know.
Okay.
This, huh?
we'll put that away for now.
That And by that he means you, Ben. You're
And
gone.
by that I mean you. And so that's all for the news as far as I'm aware of. We will now move to the fun bit. So last week we talked about MatPat and how he's stepping away, and we kind of made a mention of it, how it seems like in the last several months just content creators are stepping away, taking step backs. So we wanted to take a moment to talk about some of our favorite gaming creators, and we're not talking like ones we watch now. We're talking like
the ones we grew up.
the ones we grew up
Yeah.
with, or I guess in Lillian's case, the ones we started watching 5 years ago.
I didn't really watch creators when I was a small child.
That's okay. That's okay.
That's
Yeah, but
okay.
I
just
watched
bef-
my brother. I could have put my brother. I watched my brother,
There you go.
but he didn't film any of it. I just sat next to him on the computer.
So we will because Lillian's is, I mean, recent relative compared to some of these other ones that are on the list. Lillian, why don't you start and tell us about your creator that you gave to us?
Yeah. One of the first gaming creators that I watched, which was about 5 years ago, was Linkus7. I was introduced to the whole world of gaming creators by my roommate, who really liked Zelda and found out that I really liked Zelda. This was during COVID, so I had so much time on my hands, and needed entertainment. And she was like, "Hey, you should watch this cool Zelda speedrunner, Linkus." And I was like, "Speedrunner? What?"
Speedrunner?
Because I had never heard of the world of speedrunning. And she was like, "Yeah, you can like complete these games super fast." And so I started watching some of the speedruns that he would do, some of the he would do like randomizers of different Zelda games as well. And that was kind of my whole introduction into video game speedrunning and the whole world of that.
So he's kind of like, it sounds like, I've never seen anything of him, but it sounds like he's kind of like similar content to, oh shoot, what's his name?
I got nothing.
He like does like Zelda speedruns and randomizers.
Small
and mods.
Ant?
Small Ant, but like
Yeah.
he's done stuff with Small Ant, but there's another
Point Pro?
guy.
No
I'm Googling it.
other ones that have worked with Small Ant.
He do be looking.
Because Small Ant has worked with Linkus on stuff.
Yeah. This was the guy that like commissioned the Breath of the Wild multiplayer mod that eventually got taken down because
Oh.
Nintendo hates us. Point Crow. That's his
Yeah,
name.
that's what I said, Point Crow.
Oh, did you? I
Oh.
completely misheard that.
Cort
probably
just
cut out.
hates.
I did not hear that, but yes, Point
That
Crow.
is okay, yeah. Yeah, so I actually, Point Crow was kind of one of the next ones that I started watching. I watched,
Mhm.
Linkus was like the first one that I watched, and then Point Crow kept popping up in the suggested, and I was like, okay, I'll watch that. And then I got more into like Small Ant and that sort of thing.
That whole crew. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Just
your
fun.
your
That's funny
gaming
stuff.
content creator journey began with speedrunners.
Yes.
And not a terrible place to start.
Not
I'm
a
just
terrible
saying.
place
Not
to
at all.
start.
Yeah. Yep.
I find speedrunner content is always interesting because it's like when you have, because it's like there's like 2 or 3 genres of like content creator like videos out there. You either have the like
Mhm.
the ones who are the videos are fun because it's specifically like their personality is fun, so you're watching it for them and for like the person. Then there's the other ones where the speedrunners, you're watching it less for the person as the person and more because they're really good at speedrunning, so you just want to see their skills in speedrunning. And then there's others who are just like reviewing stuff, and you just because you respect their opinion, not because like they're a funny person or something, but because like you respect their opinion on things. So it's like you start somewhere. You're like, I like just watching the gameplay, I don't really care for the person, or I don't really actually care for the gameplay, I care for the person. And that's kind of like the camps that we're all kind of in.
I definitely like kind of like a combination of like a good personality with also like good gameplay content.
That's again, like the only one I've really watched a whole ton from is Point Guard.
Yeah, Point Guard does a lot of good
but he's got that.
being-
He's got a really funny personality, and then he also does some actually really cool like mods and speedruns.
And why did you just start busting out laughing?
As opposed to Dream, who has neither.
Oh.
That's what the mask is for.
Oh no. Okay.
That's what the point of the mask is.
Well, I think we'll just Cort. Why don't you're up next, because I also don't. This year I didn't recognize yours, so you know.
So mine is so. Aidan was like, don't list creators that you watch now.
Yeah, or at least like that you didn't start watching recently. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like what like list creators that you watched when you were little, and so I was like, okay, yeah, like you grew up with, and so the one that came to my mind immediately was Peanut Butter Gamer, and he's like a, how do you even describe? He does a lot of like Zelda and Nintendo stuff, but he's not really like speedrun. His is more just like he just makes like a variety of different things. Like he'll talk about games, and he does like fun little edits of them and stuff. And I don't know, I haven't watched any of his content for quite a while, because it is definitely tailored towards a younger audience, you know, like, and it's not really like my style of video anymore. And also I think he's just kind of changed his style recently, and I just am not really into it as much anymore. But like middle school age, me and my friends, like me and my whole friend group, like we lived off of Peanut Butter Gamer. Like it was like 90% of our humor and our inside jokes just spawned in from Peanut Butter Gamer videos. Like you're like, he has this whole set of videos on the Zelda CDI games.
Let's go.
Where he just like talks about how awful they are, and just like, you know, just like and just kind of goes over them, and like we go back and watch it now, and it's like not nearly as funny as not nearly as funny as we remember. But what in the world was that? What did he hit me with?
I don't know what it looked like he shot a Nerf gun or something.
I can't see the bullet though. That was a headshot.
He just got assassinated.
He just got whacked live on camera.
Headshot. But yeah, like it's not like really as funny now, but like I remember like back then, like we would quote that, like those videos specifically, but just like a bunch of his videos like daily. Like every second sentence from me and my friend group was some Peanut Butter Gamer quote. Or we'll still sometimes, like me and my siblings or me and my friends will still sometimes randomly quote him. Like Ben, I would not be surprised if you've heard Tally say like
100%. I'm sure there's something
random things, and some of them are from Peanut Butter Gamer videos. Like I guarantee that she said at least one or two.
You gotta pick and throw out something. I bet you.
Oh yeah.
But no, throw out something. What's like?
Oh, I'm trying to think what she would have. Oh, my mind's blanking now. But
wow.
What? Like
favorite gaming content creator
doesn't remember any of
it's not my creator like, from middle school. That's
from middle
different.
school. Yeah, that's the important thing. He's not my favorite gaming content creator by a long shot anymore. But it was just like he was our whole like introduction to the internet and that world of like gaming content creation in like middle school for me and my friends. Like, and it was like just anyway. Peanut Butter Gamer. He's part of like a bigger group of YouTubers now, like, or at least he was, and then he was not, and then he joined them back again, called like Normal Boots, I think. Like it was like JonTron and the Completionist and Pro Jared and some of that crew. Pretty much all of which have now been through some sort of controversy or another.
Listen, I feel like it's
but he's never been through any big controversy.
There's so few content creators that were like big like 10 years ago that haven't had some controversy happen to them. Like at least all the big guys. Like
I mean, I don't know any controversy with Markiplier.
No, that's why I said lots of there's a few that haven't. Like some of the big guys
has been there for a while.
Yeah, like and like Jacksepticeye and some of them have been okay, but like
Matt Pat went through his whole career without any real controversy.
Yeah, so it's like there are several, but it seems like that's the minority for some reason. It's like
there are a lot that have these weird controversies.
There's a lot that have just gone through controversy, and you're like, why?
I mean, to some extent, if you're uploading content constantly, the likelihood of something being taken the wrong way.
Why? But I feel, lots of the controversies are like they genuinely did something terrible. Like
like off screen.
Like, that's true.
Stream. Like why? Like if something gets taken the wrong way, that's not really on you, especially if it's not something that you. Like if it's a genuinely bad thing. To some extent,
there is a little bit of a pressure to like.
Yeah, there is.
To say things that are like slightly on edge to make your videos big.
But if you're like a genuinely good person, like you shouldn't ever have a worry of like,
you shouldn't ever feel like you have to do.
Yeah, you should never feel like you're having to filter yourself. Like if you're having to filter yourself, then start there, and then work on everything else. But
Peanut Butter Gamer never had anything like that.
Never had any issues.
At least as far as I know. I don't know. I haven't kept up super up to date with him, but
I googled him before stream and I didn't see any.
Peanut Butter Gamer controversy. Well, I think.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, what do you find, Ben?
I've put in Peanut Butter Gamer into search bar, and one of the first ones is Peanut Butter Gamer drama.
Drama. I think there's been some drama where, like, because so many of his friends, like, that are like his close, like, YouTuber friends, that he's worked with,
so he gets insinuated potentially like, having done something,
or like
he gets pulled into it.
Yeah, he'll get pulled into it, but I don't think he's ever been the center of anything.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good. I mean, the worst thing is when there's a content creator that you followed and like you don't follow as much anymore, but you still love them, and then it comes out that they did something terrible, and you're like, well, crap, I was supporting a terrible person the entire time.
Yep.
But I guess I'll do mine because I think Ben's probably has the most name value. Mine has decent name value, but I think Ben's is like the highest name value. So mine is Captain Sparkles. I feel like if you were at all in like the Minecraft like YouTube loop at all over the last like 10 years, you know who Captain Sparkles is. Like I don't think it's really like it's
I know possible. My little sister knows who Captain
Sparkles
is. I never played
Minecraft. When you think of like child friendly but also like not like child humor content creators, like Captain Sparkles is like almost as good as it gets in terms of like clean humor that you can enjoy almost regardless of what age you are. He's just a genuinely just like down to earth fun guy, and like I don't really like it's just kind of like the kind of person he is. He's the same person he is now as he was 10 years ago. He's just kind of like a fun, the kind of YouTuber that's like if you were watching him and your parents walked in, you like wouldn't be worried at all that he would accidentally drop an F-bomb because he doesn't do that. And I really enjoyed his content because I started watching him back when he was doing like in the middle of his very first survival series. Like I remember when Jerry's Tree was made.
Oh, that is ancient.
Like I remember when Jerry's Tree was made, and like. I wouldn't say that he's the sole reason, but I would say that he is part of the reason why, like, I just subconsciously, like, immediately go to making tree houses as my base. in any single player world, rather than like trying to build a house just in a field or in a cave. Like, I make tree houses because I remember that Jordan made one and it was really cool, and I was like, I want to do that too. So it's like, and all of his series that he's done, I'm like, yeah, he's taken a step back from like the highly edited Minecraft content, but he still streams Minecraft stuff, and he has all of his other channels, and he's like not going away. He's like one of the few guys that's been around since like the dawn of time.
Oh yeah, no, he was like one of the earliest YouTubers. I still think it's because I think most of what I know from Captain Sparkles are like his, you know, like the creeper. Oh man,
yeah,
you know, like
his Minecraft music videos.
Yeah, his Minecraft music videos, and like I still think it's hilarious to me that it probably still is this way, but at least at one point his you know, like that Dynamite song, like
TNT.
Oh no, it still is. It has a lot.
Yeah. His Minecraft version, TNT, like his Minecraft like parody version, has significantly more views than the official like Dynamite music by the actual guy. Like, and it's just like
his Minecraft parody videos with Tryhard Ninja are like such good songs.
Tryhard Ninja.
Oh yeah.
Like, I love all of their songs, and like, yeah, they make original. Their more recent ones are original content, but like, they're all such good songs, and like the last one came out like last year, so they're still making them.
Yeah.
Like, Rising Kingdom is such a good song.
It's crazy how like just part of like iconic internet culture his things have become. Like, I mean, Fallen Kingdom, you know, the Viva La Vida one, and the Creeper Man, you know, and stuff like that. Like, those are like universally recognized like internet culture meme staples now, you know, like, because they've been around for so long.
And say Creeper, and you'll hear people go,
oh man, you know, like. Or like, you know, you can show that clip of the Fallen Kingdom thing where it's like him, like the king, like falling off
and
the
all of the people crying.
Yeah, like it's just like, and everybody knows where that's from. Like, everyone's seen it. Like, it is like an iconic staple of internet culture now, just because it's been around for so long and it was so high quality. Anyway, he's definitely up there with the greats.
Because like, I don't watch his content anymore, but I've never unsubscribed from Captain Sparkles.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like, yeah, I don't watch his stuff anymore, but I'm still gonna support him in that small way, because there aren't a ton of YouTubers around anymore who have been like, especially who started with Minecraft, who are still like going strong and are still like, this is what they do. Because like, when you think of all of the other Minecraft YouTubers from that era, like, most of them are gone. People like Ant Venom and Sky Does Minecraft and Yogscast and
Yogscast, what the heck?
Like
the Wrath of Israfel or whatever.
Yeah. And like that, all of that group, because like I would watch Captain Sparkles primarily, but then I would like sometimes watch Sky videos, like sometimes watch Bayesian Canadian videos or Pizza Hut or any of them, but like I never actually was subscribed to any of those others. I was like subscribed to Captain Sparkles and would occasionally like watch some other of the creators, but like I wouldn't ever subscribe to them, because like the thing about their humor, because especially in the early days of YouTube, like, you know, 10 years ago with Minecraft, it was like a majority of the Minecraft content was like heavily, it wasn't scripted, but it was definitely heavily, it was over the top on purpose. So like, if you go back and like you watch Sky Does Minecraft videos, it's like, it's painfully obvious that he's like acting it up. Like, that is not really who he is.
Yeah.
It's like, he is just trying to go over the top to try and like be entertaining. But then you compare his videos and then you go watch Captain Sparkles videos, and Jordan doesn't do that. He's just himself. He doesn't try and like, yeah, sometimes he does like have a little more exaggerated reactions, but like it's all like natural. Like, if he does something, like, yeah, no, that seems like something someone would genuinely do. Whereas you watch someone like Sky or any of the other YouTubers at the time, you're like, that's not normal. Like, no one does that.
No
so
one
like, once
freaks out like that.
As you get older, the content doesn't become as fun anymore, because you're like, I don't find this like over the top child humor to be funny anymore. Whereas the Captain Sparkles content never really got old because he never tried to cater his content to be just hilarious over the top. He was just himself. He was just a bro, just a dude. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why he's had such longevity. And he's just a good guy. Captain Sparkles has also had no controversy. Ever. Ever. And like, he doesn't really talk about his private life all that much, and he doesn't, like, one of the running gags that's been going for as long as he's been a thing is just like his romantic life. It's always a joke of like, anytime he would do a video with like one of his female like contemporary like cohorts, they'd be like, wait, Jordan girlfriend? That would just spam the comments in the stream chat, and he was just like, no guys, we are just friends. So I hope that Jordan's able to keep going, because I mean, I think he's in his 30s now, so like, he's getting up there in terms of like YouTuber age, but like, he hasn't shown any signs of like he's wanting to quit, because like, he makes good money off of doing this. He has like 3 or 4 channels now, so he's going strong. So I love Captain Sparkles. I hope he is able to continue going into the future. And now, Ben.
But for someone who is not continuing going, we have Matthew Patthew.
Patrick.
So, if I were to go through like all the YouTubers I've watched over the years, freaking Sky Does Minecraft, Vanoss, Smitty, Markiplier, the only one that has really stuck the entire time has been MatPat and Game Theory. Like,
no one does it quite like he does.
No one does it quite the same. And like, the ability for me to be able to like listen to his videos, like say I'm doing dishes and I have my phone's in my pocket, I can have my headphones in and listen to his video and still have a general idea of what's going on and actually get some information out of it. I can't do that with a Let's Player because I just hear screaming. And so it's something I've been able to do at a complete, like at my complete own pace, and no matter what I'm doing, I'm able to listen to it. That has what has made MatPat and Game Theory, Film Theory, Food Theory has been make me watch these things no matter the situation, and that's how he has stuck through all this. And so I'm sure I'm not very special in the fact that I started watching Game Theory when he made his video on Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah, I mean,
the one where he said that it was all an analogy to some 7-Eleven murders that happened, or not 7-Eleven, Chuck E. Cheese murders
7-Eleven
that happened 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And look where we are now in the lore.
Look where we are now.
He was in a movie.
He wish things were as simple as they were back then.
I can't remember who it was I was talking to about it, but it was someone I was talking to. Maybe it was you, Ben, where we were talking about how like we were pretty sure that most of the Five Nights at Freddy's lore, Scott Cawthon, the guy who made Five Nights at Freddy's, had no idea. And then he would just like put stuff out there and then wait for MatPat to piece it together. And then
like,
just be like, yep, that's it. That's the story. Yep. You guessed it. Like that's what I had in mind from the beginning. Like, I'm pretty sure MatPat wrote the FNAF lore, like unintentionally.
MatPat is such a because I've watched Game Theory. I remember back when the freaking like some of his original theories came out. I still think to this day one of his most egregious theories is when he said Wario is like when he said like Wario is like 9 feet tall, and he ran with that for so long. Like, he was doing like, I don't know why he like, maybe he just accepted it. He was like, I messed up, but you know what, I'm gonna run with it. But like, but no, the Sans' Nest, that is also one of the more like, whoa. But I will never get tired of like the MatPat out of context videos where it's just some out of pocket. He'll be talking about religion, and then he'll be like, and that is why Master Chief.
My favorite one is the smaller animals have lower gestation times, while larger animals usually favor quality over quantity. And so that's why the Ender Dragon.
I love those ones where like they cut off right when he changes topics. So it's like it's like Buddhist temples, blah 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 blah. Anyway, so in Minecraft,
he's like over here
the ocean monument in Minecraft.
Just talking about the Illuminati, and he's like, and that's why Lucas from Earth.
Yeah, like it's like that. That's the other thing with MatPat is he makes everything so easy and accessible to understand.
He
like,
does.
I cannot tell you how many different like game series or like different even like movies or just like games, just anything. Like I really only know anything about because I've watched a game theory about it. Like FNAF is one. I've barely played any FNAF, but I could tell you a lot about the lore.
I've played like 2 FNAF.
I've played like one night of the first game.
Right. But or it's like Doki Doki Literature Club. Like
dude,
I know
that
almost
theory
nothing
was
about
crazy.
that. Like yeah, like I've never played the game, but it's like I know so much about it because I've watched the game theories. You know, like watching his theories on Undertale, including the Sans Nest one, is what eventually got me to actually play Undertale. And like it's just MatPat is the gateway drug for everything on the internet. Like
he is kind of the gateway to like theories
to everything. Just like all like content, gaming, movies. Like it's just like if you want to have access to something in a very accessible, easy way, you go through MatPat first. And it's just like, and plus like his voice is just so iconic. Like
he has a very good voice.
Very
iconic. What he does.
Like and he always says everything so enthusiastically that you can't help but listen. Like
and it's not like overdone enthusiasm. It's
because
like,
it's his actual voice, you know, like it's his real voice. So it's not like overdone, but he's just has a voice that like you kind of just have to listen. Like it's just that's just his voice, you know, like anyway.
Well, and when you have, I mean, a thing that also helps your legacy is when you have a catchphrase that just everybody knows.
So well.
Like,
but that's just a theory.
Like,
a game
theory. Like it's just like there aren't many YouTubers. Like there are some. Like PewDiePie had one for a little while, and like Markiplier would have some that would come and go, but like they would change. But like from day one, MatPat has always just had that. He would always end his videos with that. And he would start his videos and end his videos the exact same way, and that just kind of became just brand recognition.
Yeah.
It doesn't really get like that's when you know you've reached like the peak of internet fame is when anyone who's ever played video games an extensive amount or has been on the internet is able to just hear just a few words and then be able to finish the quote just out of nowhere.
It's genuinely a case that I feel like for our generation, the word theory is like just the word theory in general is almost inseparable from the concept of game theory and MatPat. Like I don't think there has been a time when I'm hanging out with just like people my age and someone says, oh well I just have this theory, or like, oh it's just a theory, and then everybody in the room just goes a game theory. Like you know like it is like he just has like this like I like, and there's not really anybody else who
presence
has it.
That like, there really isn't any other content creator except maybe Markiplier. I would say that Markiplier is probably the closest to MatPat in terms of like just everybody knows. But what's funny is that the two are linked through FNAF.
Yeah.
Like I would say that some of the most iconic bits from both Markiplier and MatPat are Markiplier's FNAF videos and MatPat's FNAF theory videos, because like when I think of Markiplier, is that the bite of 87?
It's just it's crazy to me that like I mean MatPat, I mean honestly, like while we're all sad to see him go, I think the way that he talks about it in his video where he talks about how like now is the right time for him to retire because he's kind of like at the height of his game.
Yeah, he's at the peak.
He's going out on a high note, you know, like. And because of that, like it's so smart because MatPat is going to be remembered positively for decades to come. I mean, like, like you know, he's going to be like this icon, like this gold standard of internet content creators for the rest of.
MatPat will go on the YouTuber Mount Rushmore.
100%. And it's just like, I don't know. It's just an interesting. There's not really anyone who's had as much of an impact on internet culture.
No. Because as big as people like PewDiePie, Markiplier, and them were, like, I wouldn't say that they've had an extensive impact outside of the gaming community, whereas MatPat really transcends gamers.
Yeah.
You can find him outside of it, whereas once you leave the gaming sphere, Markiplier and PewDiePie's names don't really have much pull.
Yeah.
They don't really. It doesn't really travel very far. MatPat helps transcends boundaries.
Yeah.
But he's only got a few more theories left. What is it, 9? I think, is that the...
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. So, anyways, that was a fun trip down memory lane of some... Anyone want to throw out any other shout-outs of other YouTubers? Lynn's
I
gonna
do
throw
have
someone
something
out from,
to
like,
say.
last week.
Jacksepticeye, we know how we talked about how he made that tweet saying, "Oh, I've realized how old I am and how much this has also taken a third of my life." He hasn't posted anything in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I hope Jack doesn't also leave as well. I know there was another big YouTuber that like tweeted out, it's like, seeing all these content creators go is sad, but I'm not going anywhere.
is that Donkey?
Was it? Oh yeah, it was Donkey.
No,
Donkey said that.
Donkey made a video where
Donkey made a video where he said
Donkey
that.
made a video where he basically put out, he's like, guys, I have big news. I'm not leaving YouTube. I'm gonna stick around.
And I could hear that in Donkey's voice.
And then just all the comments were, like, I think I talked about this last
because I
week,
mean, there's a few because PewDiePie, we know, is already taking a step back because him and they have a child now. Markiplier hasn't said anything, and Markiplier said he will keep doing it until it's not fun for him anymore. So we don't have an end, there's no end date, quote unquote, but it's just kind of like, who knows when that will be. And then Jack hasn't done a whole lot since his tweet. So I mean, I would probably in the next 2 or 3 years, most of the creators that we grew up with will probably stop because they'll be in their mid to late 30s.
You never know. I mean, I've been watching. This is not necessarily in the gaming sphere, but Vlogbrothers are YouTube. They do YouTube content, more like educational content.
Yeah,
they've been on YouTube since like the dawn of YouTube, and they still do content.
That's the thing, is like there's the distinction, because it feels like the gaming creator timeline, but like path is different from more IRL content.
Traditional.
Because you even look at things like Smosh, and like Smosh is a full-blown company now. Or like, Good Mythical Morning is a company now. So they're not going anywhere because they're entertainment companies. Whereas these gaming creators are like, it's them. Like, they have teams with them. Like MatPat has a whole bunch of crews with them, but it's like them. And as soon as they feel like they're done, they will take a step back. And like their content is just like the games that they play. Whereas with IRL vlogs, it's like, well, everything is slightly different. You're never going to run out of things to teach people about if you're an educational YouTuber.
It kind of reminds me of, just thinking about like how, like professional athletes have, like they come into the scene in their like early 20s, and then they're pretty much retired and done by the time they're 30. It's, they're not in that scene for a super duper long time in comparison to like other jobs. And it kind of seems like it's a similar thing with these kind of content creators, where they're in there for their 20s, early 30s, but once they hit that age period, they've made the money they need to make. They've done the things that they want to do, and they're kind of ready to move on and do other things. And it just seems like a natural kind of stepping off point where now they can kind of enjoy the fruits of their labors, and they can raise their families.
It's also another thing that because with educational content, you're just like, okay, what's something that people want to know about, and you just kind of put it out. Whereas with gaming, it's a very topical, like timely thing. It's like unless you're already a big established name like Markiplier, you have to like figure out like what game does everyone wanting to play for me to make content to get big. And even some of the big guys, it's like once you start losing audience, you have to then get back onto the grind of like trying to figure out the algorithm and figure out what makes it big, and that I feel like is a lot more exhausting than for someone like Matt Pat, where he just kind of like, what bat wild theory can I come up with, and like anyone will watch it because you know it's guaranteed to be entertaining.
Yeah.
New theory: Ness is Sans.
Ness is Sans. So
Yeah, I mean, I feel like
out.
people like Markiplier have it a little easy. Where I mean,
Yes,
they kind of not easy, but like they've kind of made it so that they don't have to worry about what's in or like what's
they
like,
can put out what Markiplier can put out almost anything and people will watch
they
it.
kind of decide, you know, like Markiplier talks about something about some new game and then it's like in and it's like a thing that's talked about now, you know, like because Markiplier talked about it. And so like, you know, they do have it kind of nice in that way, but that's something that they had to build up over years.
Yeah, they had to build it up, and
you know?
I feel like at a certain point, probably for some of these YouTubers who especially a little more who aren't as open about their life, they probably just don't want to be in the spotlight anymore. Like I would imagine that when Markiplier steps away, he probably will mention something about that. He was like, it's as fun as it's been, I don't want to be in the spotlight anymore of like my every move suddenly, you know, one wrong word tanks an entire like game company. Like you you know that if Markiplier came out and said something really negative about Bethesda or something, that Bethesda would
have like
feel
a major impact. Yeah,
like Bethesda would feel it. Or if Markiplier came out and said something about Mojang, like you would feel it. Mojang would feel it. Minecraft would feel it. They just have. I mean, that's kind of the thing with these big creators. Like, if any one of them says something negative about a big company or a big game, then that's going to be felt in the industry.
Yeah,
well, and
it's
like
kind of just. Oh no, you go.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, in the sense of like as people get older, they want more privacy in their family life. Like a lot of streamers have been having issues with like people find their addresses and will like swat them.
Yeah.
And,
the SSS sniper wolf situation with
and like when you're a single person living alone, that's one thing, but if you have a family, that's a whole different situation.
Right.
And it becomes harder to have a family if you're an influencer,
if you're constantly streaming and
Right. And I think that's the biggest thing is it's that burden of fame, you know, like where your whole life is constantly on display and your whole existence is focused around like for normal people, we have jobs, but our lives are not our jobs, you know?
Yeah. Why are you laughing, Ben?
I don't have a job right now, but
you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
We have jobs, and Ben goes,
but like,
for yourself.
but like people have careers, you know. Like if your career is an electrician, you know, like that is your career. That is not your life, you know.
Well,
like
not everybody knows that you're an electrician,
right? But it's like for someone who's famous or for someone who's like a streamer, that is their career and that is also their life. And so it's like it makes sense for them to, when they reach around that age, like they're like they want to do other things with their life and they have the means to do it now. They want to relax and raise their kids and you know like and it makes sense, you know, and it's a reasonable and totally understandable and like good stepping off point for a lot of these people, you know.
They just don't want to be in the spotlight anymore. And I mean, you can see it with influencers who do have families, where you can look at like with Ludwig and with Cutie. Cutie has talked about how like so many times she's just referred to as Ludwig's girlfriend, or it's like it's like they're both influencers, but because Ludwig is numbers wise larger influencer, Cutie is kind of just forgotten about, and people who don't know who she is only know her through Ludwig, and it's just kind of like it's a burden on that relationship. And it's not inherently either of their fault. Like it's just kind of it came with the internet.
Well, and I mean even like friendships like Point Crow and Smollett had huge issues because their following kind of like compared them to each other.
Yeah, the internet creates
very toxic
drama
ways
that creates drama that doesn't need to exist. And that's probably another thing is that the influencers just kind of get tired of like, even if they are just naturally good people and never have to worry about, you know, they're never going to say something terrible. The internet, there are people that are super sensitive that will make drama, and they're probably at a certain point it's like, I'm tired of this. I don't want to have to worry about I say one thing and it's taken out of context and suddenly my like well-being is at risk.
Well, and you got to think, I mean, they're constantly, even the big names like Markiplier, I'm sure, are constantly balancing out this like, I'm sure they don't really like go in and read the comments anymore because there's just probably so much stuff. But like that concept of like what people think of you, like what people think of the content that you put out, and like these things, like that matters for your like livelihood, and like that's gotta weigh on you so heavily. Like, like you put something out that people really don't like, and like, or like, and there's all these negative things about it, and like that hits you like hard where you live, like if you're a big name, if you're a content creator like this, and like that's got to get so draining after a while that it totally makes sense that after a while they'd just be like, all right, like I've done my good, I've done my part.
Even smaller names, like I was watching the other day, Smallent was talking on stream about how like he pretty much every time he goes out now, at least one person recognizes him, and he's not even like he's not even a huge like
public notoriety.
Yeah, and like just kind of that he was saying like he feels like he's being watched every time he goes outside. And even as like a smaller streamer, like he's recognized every time he goes outside, to just kind of have that feeling of like that weighs on you, like to feel like you can't go outside without somebody recognizing you.
And that's
I mean, he's not that special though. I feel like I'm being watched. I go outside too.
That's because I'm always watching you every time you go outside.
No, it's because birds are just government surveillance
cameras. But like, but that's a smaller YouTuber like Smallent, who's not like got a huge. But like you think about someone like MatPat or Markiplier, like they could not go to a grocery store without being recognized.
And some creators take it better. Some creators take it better than others. And like, but at a certain point, it does just kind of like, I just want to go grocery shopping. I don't want to stop every time I go to Costco.
I mean, like, I feel like if I suddenly became famous, like, I would like think it's cool for a little bit. No, hear me out. Like I would think it's cool for, but even I would eventually get like really kind of like overwhelmed by that, like, and so like you really can't blame them for kind of wanting to just.
Especially for these creators, often a lot of the attention on them is because they're continually making videos. It would make sense for them to say, okay, well, I'm going to either take a break or like stop making these videos, because in the culture of the internet, definitely whoever's more active is the more famous.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, you stop making videos, and in 10 years, the people who did watch you will be older, and the people who are now the age that are out everywhere don't know who you are. Yeah. Which is sad to think about. We're going to go 20, 30 years, and our children will not know who MatPat is.
You say that?
Are you
like somebody who's made as much of an impact as MatPat has? I feel like
I think some people like MatPat who have made such a massive impact on the culture.
I think it depends on how much MatPat stays in the scene working on content. Because if he's barely in videos, 5 years from now, if he's barely ever in videos and he's behind the scenes, then because of how the internet is, and especially how the younger the people, the generation younger than us is, if they're not seeing a face and a voice all the time, they're not going to know who it is. We'll know who they are, but like people who are in elementary school, they may be like,
that guy, I recognize him. But if we think of
they're not going to know because of how.
I mean, I think it'll be a similar situation to like we don't like actively. I mean, a lot of people now, like our generation, doesn't actively super listen to Frank Sinatra's music, But and he's obviously not coming out with any new music, but. We still know who Frank Sinatra is, and we still know some of the stuff.
I think the thing with the
internet is a very interesting.
I think what will determine the longevity of these like really big content creators is how the general media sphere shifts. Because the reason everyone knows who Frank Sinatra and Elvis Presley are is because they're in the music industry. And the music industry transcends the internet, movies, everything. Whereas YouTube culture is bigger than it was 10 years ago, but it only goes so far. It's still a subculture. So I think the name value of MatPat and how long he is still remembered, even when he's not in the forefront of videos, will really come down to how big YouTube gets, and if these YouTube creators are actually like outside of YouTube. And the problem is that I think by the time the YouTube sphere gets big enough where it's recognized by like mainstream media, MatPat will have already taken his face, out of the limelight of game theory, and he's not going to be in the sphere unless he does things that gets him in there, which I think is what he probably will be doing, is moving more to the management side and being the face of the, I guess, quote unquote company rather than the channel.
But I think, and I agree, but I think there is also an aspect of like our generation grew up with MatPat, and when we have kids, we're gonna show them the stuff that was important to us when we were little, and we're gonna show them MatPat. Like our kids will probably know who MatPat is.
Well, that comes down to personal. Well, then that's a personal responsibility then. That comes down to us because like, it's like realistically, if the Star Wars prequel trilogy never came out, there would be so many people who don't know what Star Wars is. So, and I think the same logic can be applied to content creators. It's like there's not going to be any new MatPat videos in 10 years, so the people who know about them will have learned about them from their parents, not because of YouTube.
But I do think I do think MatPat has made enough of an influence on the internet that like references to him and things from like clips of him and things of him are still going to be around in the future, and will still like I don't well and will just like still be part of the culture. I don't think that I don't know. I don't imagine that at any point there will be a time when MatPat will be able to go out and not be recognized by someone. You know, like I mean,
as long as our generation is around, MatPat will always be seen. I mean, it would. He is ingrained himself into the older side of Gen Z. Now, I don't know. The younger side of Gen Z, I don't really know, because they don't have the attention span for a game theory video. But you know. But I think that's a good way to kind of like wrap that all up. It's like these creators we grew up with, their legacy it kind of lives through us and our generation. Once they stop making content or at the forefront, they will be remembered through us and the things that we all do because we remember them. And if they are to be remembered past us, that's on us. So I think that's a good way to end things out. Anything final anyone wants to say before we close?
Well, I just wanted to say that keep in mind that all of this is just a theory.
Cort, you're supposed to say that after the outro. Do the outro first. We can edit that.
Nope, I got nothing else.
Okay. Well, you're doing the outro, Cort. Please tell me you have it up or memorized.
Yeah, I definitely have it memorized.
4 seasons in, and Cort still doesn't have the outro memorized. It hasn't changed.
I know.
We do actually have an outro order though, so we can. Unlike last week.
There we go. Knights of the D-Pad is a publication of the Daily Universe. We'd like to give a special thanks to Alan Neves and Miles Romney for everything they did and do to help support us and continue to do this podcast. Also, if you'd like to reach out to us with feedback, ideas for topics, or just to make fun of Ben, you can shoot us an email at knightsofthedpodcast@gmail.com. With that, let's sign off. My name is Cort.
I'm Aidan.
I'm Lillian.
And I'm Ben.
And we are the Knights of the D-Pad. See you next time.